So, welcome back to HRE Insights in 30, where we spotlight the experts, innovations, and ideas shaping risk and compliance today. I'm your host, Justin Muscolino, CEO of High Risk Education. So, today I'm joined by someone who's at the forefront of blockchain intelligence and crypto investigations, Rafeh Hulays, head of IP and products at Blockchain Intelligence Group. Now, Rafeh's work really centers on helping investigators, financial institutions, and regulators trace illicit crypto investigations, detect fraud, and also build stronger AML programs in the digital asset space. He's trained teams around the world on how to use blockchain and analytics tools to really connect the dots between crypto wallets, bad actors, and real world risks. So, in this conversation, we'll dig into how blockchain forensics works, what compliance teams need to understand about crypto related investigations, and where this fast moving world is headed next. Rafeh, thanks so much for joining us today. We're excited to have you here.
Thank you, Justin. I'm very excited about joining you here in this podcast.
Great. So, my first question is part curiosity, but it's good for the audience to know. So, you built an incredible career in blockchain analytics and crypto investigations, something that, didn't even exist not that long ago. So, how did you first get involved in this space, and what drew you into the world of digital asset investigations?
Well, it has been quite a journey into blockchain analytic, and really it started with Lance Morgan, our president and one of the founders of the company. We sat down, we had a conversation. At that point of my career, I was coming out of a company where I built a tokenization platform, and one of the major issue was know your customers. Also, the ability to detect fraud and fraudulent actors and investigation. At the same time, I was a young father, and I looked at how the deep web, the dark web, and blockchain has been used in some of the criminal activities. So there was a lot of a promise, and there is a lot of promise for blockchains and blockchain technologies and its transformative capacity. At the same time, because it is a transformative technologies, many of the bad actors or some of the bad actors were getting involved in order to commit certain type of criminal activities. So that was an interest since I started working with blockchain. I've been following also blockchain since it is inception. I, at that point of time, I joined Blockchain Intelligence Group. We have an amazing research team, an amazing investigative team that taught me a lot. I also delved into the scientific literature, and I've conducted investigation, traced transaction, identified. So I went this rabbit hole of which once you go into it, it's very difficult to get out of it because it is really a race between those that want to make blockchain into a place where good things can happen to society, and those that want to use that technology in order to conduct criminal activity, or let's call it a nefarious activity. Since that time, blockchain has been and blockchain investigation has been a big part of my life. At the same time, I have a strong interest in AI and the the ability to merge those two interests and artificial intelligence, intelligent agents, decision trees, machine learning, generative AI, and to this with blockchain has not only piqued my interest, have really fascinated me for quite a while, and right now it is becoming more and more of reality. And I believe over the next 5 years, artificial intelligence is going to transform the way we do investigations.
I always find interesting how people got to a certain point in their career. Like, I really do think you're on the cusp of just the beginning with blockchain. It's not that old and it's starting to prosper beyond what we ever thought it could be. So, I find it extremely interesting. So great story, Rafeh. I'd love to change gears a little bit about really understanding blockchain intelligence. For those who may be new to blockchain intelligence, for them, what does it actually look like in practice? And, when we talk about like tracing funds or analyzing wallets, what kind of insights can investigators really uncover?
Well, blockchain intelligence really transformed blockchain data into actionable insights. What I mean, and by the way, for both investigation, compliance, and risk management. Um, in blockchain, everything is open. You can see it. If you have the knowledge to go and look at it, you can do so. There are tools that where you can do them. Some of them are free, some of them are paid. There are blockchain explorers where you can go and look at the different transactions and the transfers. And if you have enough knowledge of the blockchain itself, you'd be able to interpret this. If not, there are a product like ours that make it very easy or easier to interpret these and for the general users or for the investigators or the compliance officer. But every transaction is recorded. It's open, it's immutable ledger. It doesn't change. Okay. So the challenge is really not access. It's making sense of all of this fast and transparent data sets. Okay. And especially that there are actors out there that are trying to hide their activities. So, if, for example, you have people that end up using coin join mixers and the like in order to hide their footprints. Or blockchain intelligence, we have tools that make it easier, that enable to map out fund, quantify risk, cluster related addresses. Investigators and the compliance officer can trace stolen fund, identify wallet linked to dark markets, sanctioned actors, uh, uncover links that otherwise would remain really invisible to the general eye. Some of these can look very innocent, but they're not. The real power in blockchain investigation is how you bring on-chain and off-chain world together in order to make sense of what is going on, to identify the different actors within the transaction in this blockchain space. So this hybrid rule between on-chain and off-chain can provide you uh, a uh, a narrative, to see the narrative behind these different transactions. So you can see where the money who is moving, who is the one that initiating these transactions, what are the possible suspicious activity, how do I tie it into individuals and organizations. So the audit trail is there. It never fades. The question is, how do I tie it to actual people and actual organizations. And here we do not, in our organizations and other organizations, we really do not care about normal users, and we don't expose anybody. We really care about bad actors and identify those bad actors. Uh, and that's really most or so. For example, if somebody is involved in uh, child pornography, for example, okay, and the law enforcement officers identify, let's call it the seed, some of the seed addresses or the an entity that deal with this, our software, and there are other softwares, enable the investigator to trace where the fund is going, or for compliance officers in an exchange, whether or not that money that they are receiving in their exchange has been involved in this type of nefarious activity.
Oh, that is really cool. It kind of shows that, crypto isn't anonymous as people think. There's a trail if you really know how to follow it. And, with your insights and your expertise, you can kind of show how much you care and you're involved in each investigation. So let's move over to a little bit more in the crypto risk category for our FIs. Now, for financial institutions, they're increasingly getting more exposed to crypto, whether that's through customers, partners, or even like third-party vendors. So, what are some of the biggest blind spots you see when it comes to managing crypto-related risks these days?
I think the biggest blind spot is indirect exposure. Okay, so many institutions think that they're insulated, like banks. They think that they are insulated from crypto risk because they don't hold digital asset directly. Reality is this, that processors, payment gateways, fintech partners, bank may handle crypto transactions, and they integrate to it. These connections usually sit down outside the traditional control system. Okay, so for bank, if they want to onboard an entity, they really need to know if that entity hold cryptocurrency or asset, or they are involved in cryptocurrency transactions. If they want to onboard an exchange, they need to know, does that exchange have proper KYC systems? Do they have acceptable risk? Or are they engaged in high risk activities, which can impact them as well? Same thing for payment processors, payment gateways. They need to be aware of who are they, those entities that they are dealing with. And we have several products that deal with this, that can service processor, payment gateways, and banks. We The other issue is that legacy AML and KYC system are designed for fiat, regular money, dollars. Okay, not anonymous or pseudo-anonymous wallet. So without that blockchain visibility, the financial institution can be processing crypto-related fund without realizing the underlying risk. Um, so the solution is really to integrate blockchain analytics into the enterprise risk management. So you need the ability to screen wallet through that are going through the blockchains. There need to be due diligence with it. There need to be continuous monitoring of these activities. So compliance teams need to become crypto fluent. So they need to understand some of the basics of blockchain analytic and blockchain investigations and investigations. So they have to develop expertise in the in the topic. A blockchain analytic need to be part and parcel of the compliance space an institution need to develop. expertise and skill set, and also partners with experts in the field in order to ensure their compliance.
Oh, that's really interesting. I think a lot of institutions don't even realize where crypto risk really touches them, whether it's in partnerships, payments, or even customer activity. But you did mention something about, the next generation of compliance folks. Like, I know we got into that a little bit earlier on in your background, but, as like crypto, AI, and like data analytics change financial crime compliance, what skills do you think professionals really need to develop now to stay relevant and, effective in this space?
Most compliance officers, okay, need to be generalists. They need to understand blockchains. They need to understand the risk associated with blockchain. So they need to have a what's called a generalized knowledge, most of it. But depending on the size of the organization, then in each organization you might have subject expert people who are expert in specific blockchain. Not all blockchains are the same. Uh, so there are those that know the in and out of BTCs, for example, Bitcoin, who have no idea, for example, or do not have a lot of knowledge of how Solana, for example, work. But the compliance officer should have general information about how blockchain work, and in order to assess the risk involved in a certain transaction. Um, then you have experts who in the field who focus on blockchain analytics or specific blockchain analytics, or they have relationships with those that do. We have a lot of our partners and the client who reach out to us and they ask us a specific question: what does this transaction mean? And our expert basically go and we provide them answer to that. Our platform make it easier to read out what's going on in those different blockchain. So there is a generalized and there is the subject matter experts. Most will be general, they will develop general knowledge to be able to assess whether or not a transaction is a safe transaction or they should take it for further analysis. Subject matter experts are the one that delve deep into the investigation. But in general, blockchain investigations are not the different stages are not different than other form of investigation. Everything starts with a trigger event, a suspicious transaction, a fraud report, a law enforcement request, a client complaint. Um, from there, investigation really go into about 5 stages. So the first one is triage and scoping. It is identifying the relevant information. Well, information addresses transactions, IDs, entities. So it is the collection of the information. Then there is then you go into the blockchain analysis, and where people use tools like ours in order to map out the flow of funds through mixers, exchanges, bridges, clustering the related address, assess the exposure to risk factors, all of these things. Obviously, as we with regard to our softwares, and we have intelligent agents that we are including that will assist in this investigation and suggest paths, and you can put monitors on it. Monitors almost like wiretapping an address, so you get told where the fund have moved or certain conditions have been met. So and we have there is attribution enrichment, and this is really combining the on-chain and the off-chain data, OSINT data, and we have tons of it within our platform. Then you move to stage four, which is a narrative building where you construct a clear story where the fund originated, how they moved, and where they ended up going. And then you have the reporting part, which is stage five, which is you want to deliver your finding in a structured fashion. You might need to to file an SAR, and you may need to coordinate with exchanges and authorities in order to freeze the fund. So these are really the five stages. So again, they are triage and scoping. There is a chain analysis, the attribution and enrichment, the narrative building, and the reporting and action. The difference between a blockchain investigation and regular investigation is that investigation are really rarely over because a lot of the bad actor, what they do is once they steal a large amount of money, they take this money and they park it in a private wallet where nobody really have access to it. So these funds remain dormant for many years before they resurface. Okay. So AI and intelligent agent that we have in our platform will monitor these things for these funds for the investigator and will action if there is any movement going forward. Uh, so uh, so increasingly, what you're having here is AI intelligent agency are accelerating the work. They're exploring the vast data pathways. They are surfacing hidden correlations between faster than ever before. So rather than spending hours and days going through a mountain pile of data, these intelligent agents can do this in minutes, making the investigator life easier. It can keep monitors and tap on this fund forever. So any movement, the investigator will be notified, and you can action. This is going to the funds are going to an exchange. I need to connect to the exchange and tell them that to freeze these funds.
It's really interesting. Like I never even thought about it that you kind of do have to be like a high functioning generalist, right? Because there's a lot of different areas to cover. But the interesting thing that I also got from there is, it's a great reminder that, the future of compliance, it's not just really knowing the rules, it's really understanding the technology behind the risks. So thank you for that, Rafa. And then lastly, what's next for the Blockchain Intelligence Group? I know you've been busy over there, with the new tools, new partnerships, definitely expanding global reach. So what's next for you and the team? Anything exciting you can share?
Yeah. Um, so just to comment on something you just said that hit the mark.
Hmm.
Uh, the next generation of compliance of professional really they need to blend technology,
Yeah.
investigative instinct. Okay. Uh, yes, we have all of these tools to help them in order to reach uh, uh, to in this investigation and to come up to for at an outcome or at a positive outcome. Okay. However, really, there is no substitute to investigative instinct. You can rely on other people for technology fluency. Okay. But the investigative instinct is going to be that of the investigator. And I want to, and ethical clarity. I think it's very important for investigator and compliance officer to have ethical clarity to treat their subject matters, let's call it with respect, respect their privacy. And so now, what is next for blockchain intelligence group? Um, We're really entering into an exciting new phase. We're expanding globally with regulators, financial institutions, law enforcement, in order to strengthen crypto compliance and investigations. Um, we are continuously enhancing our analytic capability right now with AI-driven attribution analytic, risk scoring across multiple blockchain. Education is another key focus of ours. With Blockchain Intelligence Academy, we're training the next wave of investigator and compliance professionals. Our real mission is really simple, but also it is very ambitious, is to make crypto safer and more transparent. Um, the next chapter is about empowering more organization to bridge innovation and trust, build confidence in the digital economy for everyone, and make blockchain a space that is safe for everybody to transact value. And at the end of the day, that's what the all of our objective, and I know it is your objective as well.
Oh, absolutely. We need to educate people because, they fear the unknown until they know the fear. And, educating on what could be, and probably is the future, is really important. But Rafe, this has been a great discussion. I mean, blockchain and crypto, it could definitely feel overwhelming, but you've helped make it clear that with the right tools and with the right mindset, even investigators could use these technologies to find, real truth in the data and thusly really stop bad actors faster. So, huge thank you to you and also to your team at Blockchain Intelligence Group. And, for our listeners, don't miss our next episode on October 31st, where we'll be joined by Christina Ray from Raycore Consulting, who will share our insights on emerging fraud risks and what compliance leaders really need to stay ahead. So, thanks for tuning in to HRE Insights in 30. Until next time, keep learning, stay curious, and take care.